back by popular demand. It's Brian Smith, recruiting expert of Locked On. Not just by popular demand, but also necessity, because we got some things to talk about. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, this recruiting episode of Locked On is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job on linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. You guys know this guy's face. You know his voice. It's Brian Smith, the wonderful recruiting expert of Locked On Networks. Brian, we're gonna mix it up today. We're gonna talk about football recruiting for our Michigan State Spartans here. I'm just gonna shoot you a question. How's this conversation gonna go? Please just give us a spoiler here.
I think it's going to be actually pretty interesting.
Okay. In a good way, or I guess we have 20 minutes to figure out. So,
well, I mean, there's some questions you're going to ask me I don't have the answer to, and it's a good thing. That's
okay.
The things I'm going to have.
Okay. That's a good start, because look, we're going to talk David Stone. Might be losing momentum there. We're going to talk. Well, you know what? No, forget. Let's get right into it. No foreplay. Let's get right into the David Stone thing. He is committing in about a week and a half right now at time of recording. And boy, from the outside looking in, Brian, it looks like Michigan State has lost quite a bit of momentum. I want to read a quote really quick, if you don't mind. On3 put out a piece where he talked about his final schools, and David Stone said about Michigan State, quote, "I feel like if I wasn't to play football, that's somewhere I would want to be. Their staff compared to OU, their track record isn't quite there." Brian, I feel like if it wasn't for football, that's somewhere where I'd want to be. That is your high school crush telling you that I love you like a brother. Is that not? Like, that's not a good quote, Brian. I mean, any way you could put lipstick on that at all?
Well, I was standing about 2 feet away from him when he made that comment.
Great.
So here's the deal. Barring something unforeseen and a semi dropping on my house right now, it's not going to happen. I hope.
Yeah, same. I like it, Brian. Yeah, same.
Let's not have that happen. He's going to pick Oklahoma the first time. Mm-hmm. Where he signs, I'm not convinced.
Okay. Okay.
He just has a great relationship with the OU staff, and he grew up like 30, 40 minutes from their campus. Yeah. I get it, but I asked him, and some other people asked him about Michigan State and Florida and Miami and all these other schools. He's still going to take visits unless something changes. Michigan State was one that he mentioned. He's trying to figure it out. I forget the quote, and I didn't even do a full I've interviewed David so many times I've kind of given up.
Sure.
But we had IMG Media Day, and I live hour and 40 minutes from it. So I drive down and go, and I think Michigan State's going to get an in-season visit.
Okay. Interesting.
Of some kind. I don't even know what that means, but that's my guess. So I don't remember if he took an official during the summer. I can't remember, but
he did.
They're in play.
Late June. Yep.
They need to do something on the field this year that goes beyond your expectations and mine to get David Stone to sign. That is my incredibly strong belief. And I know you're all for it as a Michigan State fan.
But specifically in the trenches too on defense. Like, hey, maybe the defensive line shows something where, hey, yes, Brandon Jordan, he left. Marco Coleman, yes, he did leave, but maybe we could still get some momentum going with the defensive line. And look, it's not lost with me how big of a reach this is for just that to change his entire opinion on everything, but it's kind of the thread of hope that I'm holding on to over here in East Lansing.
Recruiting, man, is funky in the NIL era. There's time. Let's not kid ourselves. This is a very big NIL recruitment.
Oh, yeah.
So, there's things that I won't, I know him and I can ask him all kinds of off-the-record questions. There's a limit. Mm-hmm. So that's the other part of this. Like right now, if he doesn't go to Oklahoma, I will be shocked for his commitment, which means diddly.
Sure.
But just to put things in perspective, today, looking at my little calendar, it's the 17th of August. Signing day is the 20th of December. That's 4 months and 3 days. Come on. It is really not that relevant. It's about 125 days from now.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and not too long ago, like I was just going to say, like, not too long ago, he did announce that he was going to commit somewhere at the last week of August. And then I don't even know if it was 24 hours later. He says that, hey, he wants to visit Alabama too during the season. It's like, okay, so you're going to commit somewhere late August and then keep visiting, which, well, within your rights. I mean, hey, if you're as talented of a kid as he is, take every single official visit you possibly can. I'm not going to knock him for that, but it's interesting. So I do want to touch on this part of the quote, though. I do want to give us State fans some sugar on this beautiful Friday. He also did say, quote, I feel like Michigan State has that readiness and circle that every player needs to flourish into a man. If there's a school for me to be at, that would be the school. So it's not completely dead, right, Brian? You kind of said as much there. You touched on it. Like, we do have a 5% chance over. How about this? How about this for a question? Over under on 5%. David Stone signs with Michigan State on signing day. It's a low percentage, but okay. This is good conversation.
5%. You have no expectations. You're a freaking fan.
I don't. No, I'm a lot lower than a lot of other people are. Believe me, I'm in the minority with like how low I'm keeping my expectations for all this. So this is healthy for everyone here involved. Yeah.
I would put it at about 15%.
Oh, excellent. Okay, I like that actually. I've bet on way worse odds than that before. Lord knows that. FanDuel knows that. I've bet on.
I'm not going to make any comments on that. If you've been doing that, that's probably not good for your financial future. But we'll go into that podcast at another time.
That's for a future episode here. So like, look, just fascinating. Did MSU ever have a chance, though, with this? Like, because I've heard reports like, hey, during the summer, like, if he was going to commit somewhere in June, it would have been Michigan State. If it was going to be, like, early July, it would have been Michigan State. Like, do you ever think it was truly that close to him, like, committing verbally to Michigan State? Or is it just tough to read on a kid like this with so many options?
No, he really did. I mean, I talked to him, like I said, I've probably interviewed him 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
He's the kid that absolutely, unequivocally, likes Michigan State. It's not BS. Yeah. It's just Oklahoma is home, and the guy that he literally plays next to at IMG, guess where he just committed?
OU, I think. Yeah. Oops. Uh-oh.
That is the correct answer. And they're pretty tight. So, I mean, that is a random, but it is IMG. Like, they have over 20 Power 5 kids on their roster.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And just to throw one more David Stone question out there before your head explodes, because I know this is your favorite topic to talk about when you join Locked On Spartans. I think he said that the 3 hats on his table for sure are Miami, Oklahoma, Michigan State, and he's going to have a 4th hat on the table. It's a mystery team. Any inkling as to who that 4th team could be on the quote-unquote table for David Stone?
LSU and Alabama come to mind. Oregon could. Any of those, like, he's visiting Alabama, so I don't care if the hat's on the table.
Yeah,
it's on the table.
They might as well be, right?
It's freaking Alabama. It's not that hard.
Yeah, sure. Well, we got a lot of other names to talk about, and look, Jason Brown, he just got a prediction from On3 to go to Michigan State. We're going to kick off next segment with that. We got to talk Bredell Richardson. Javarius Green is also going to commit somewhere on Friday. But hey, really quick, gang, need to talk your ear off about eBay Motors. It is championship drive season, no different at eBay Motors. And for a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits just right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know that the part will fit, or hey, it is your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts, my goodness gracious, that's a lot of parts. You will be back in the game in no time. And after all, hey, it's easy to bring home the win when just the right parts are guaranteed. So get the right parts, the right fit at the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions, you got that right. They apply. And also, it's time to talk about one of my favorite clothing brands out there. It's Home Field Apparel, homefieldapparel.com. It's wonderful because it's not just a great clothing website, but go ahead and check out their selection of Michigan State attire. They Get all of the vintage logos that you may have never seen in your entire life, even if you're a diehard State fan, and you just get to rock them every single day. You are the best looking one at the tailgate, in your Spartan Stadium, in your man cave, wherever you are. You're rocking home field apparel. You are turning heads, and also your body is thanking you as well, because it is like putting a cloud onto your body. As good as they look, they feel just as comfortable. So what are you waiting for? Go to homefieldapparel.com. But hey, we're also going to save you money too. For your first order, smash in promo code LOS23. That's LOS23 for 15% off of your order at homefieldapparel.com. Again, homefieldapparel.com, promo code LOS23 for 15% off of that first order. Now let's get the iconic Brian Smith back into the mix here. Some exciting news in the middle of the week for Michigan State football recruiting. Hey, Jason Brown, top 100 kid or 150 kid, depending what recruiting site you look at. Great running back. All right, 4-star running back out of Pacific Northwest. Jason Killop, recruiting expert for On3, puts a prediction in for Jason Brown to come to Michigan State. Brian, thoughts? Is there a lot of smoke to that fire, or is that kind of like still a lot up for grabs in this recruitment?
I read that as well, and I don't know that person, so I can't find out any details. But if he lives there, there's a reason. And to do a couple backdrops here, number one, he plays at O'Day. It's a Catholic program in Seattle. It is the tradition-rich, no doubt about it, proverbial program where kids go every single year. So that's a school you have to know if you are a Pacific Northwest guy. So the chances of him not having inside information here are pretty much slim and none. It's kind of like you root for Michigan over Michigan State. It's just not going to happen. So
yeah, correct.
So to put it in perspective, I would put a lot of smoke on it, and a lot of fire, and a lot of gasoline, and a lot of kerosene. He doesn't cover the Spartans. It's a school he has to cover, the high school. This makes sense. So the other thing, and here's the odd part. What are the odds? This is a kid that I've known about for a long time. Really good running back. Okay. He's in Seattle. There's a rumor that there's a good running back in Seattle that played at Michigan State. Do you know anything about this?
I think he just played like 1 year. I don't remember much about him. I think he had an okay game against the school down the road you just mentioned. But yeah, why did he stick to a team over there on the Seahawks, the NFL team? Is that wow?
I think so. I'm guessing that. Let's be honest. In some capacity, he's had conversation with him. Okay. I have no insight, but how would he not?
Hard not to. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, the kid's going to want to know, and I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that he follows the Seahawks.
Sure. Yeah. Bold predictions here on Locked On Spartans today.
For it. In Michigan State, I was looking at some of his schools that he's been offered by in the list. USC runs the ball some, but that's a pass school. Oregon, a little bit all over the map, but they throw it a lot. Washington, do they have a run game? So Michigan State is the one that fits that box too. There's a lot of reasons to believe this is the case. And here's the oddity. And I hate saying this out loud, but it's a fact. It is now easier for the kid from Seattle to play at Michigan State and then travel less long-term than if he went to Oregon. Why? Because Oregon's in the Big Ten, and it's very weird. If he goes to Oregon, if he goes to Washington or any of those schools and comes, it's easier to just go to Michigan State if he wants to play in the Big Ten. I hate that with every fiber of my being, and I'm guessing that you have a similar opinion, but it is what it is. So I don't have a problem. Like, the offense fits Brown, and he's a hell of a player. It makes sense.
No, you are right. I do not like the expansion whatsoever. But hey, if it nets us a 4-star running back out of the Pacific Northwest, you know what? Go Networks. I'm just going to get a hat that says Peacock Network on it. Let's go. If this is going to be a gain for us, sure, I'm all about it all of a sudden. This is how I'm going to thread the needle here. Okay, so hey, that's a 4-star running back. Michigan State already has a 4-star running back in the class, Anthony Scuda Carey. He has a teammate down in Florida. He goes by the name of Bredell Richardson. It seemed like that Michigan State was in a really good spot. Like you said as much. John Garcia of Rivals said as much. Everyone that I've talked to that knows anything about recruiting said that, yeah, Bredell Richardson to State is looking pretty good. They made his Final Four, just like Michigan did, just like Oregon did, just like LSU did. And then he commits to the University of Central Florida, Brian. Is that a shocker for you? Is that confusing? Just your reaction when you saw that Bredell Richardson is going with the Golden Knights over there.
I went to see Bredell the day he committed, and they had a morning
Okay.
practice. Down here, it's so hot, they do a lot of morning practices. And I've known him for over 2 years. And when I just got a little heightened weight update on him and stuff. We were standing in the weight room, but he was kind of off to the side, unlike he normally is, because he's a talkative kid. And I'm like, something's up. And I knew he was committing. And then I get just like his body. I'm like, okay, something's weird here. So I just let it ride, and I didn't ask anything. I knew something was goofy. And then he announced, and I'm like, okay, I was right. Because he always just hands me information.
Sure.
So I knew something was off. And I have no idea. I haven't went back to see him. I'm going to wait a few weeks. I'll go see them practice or get a game to get more insight. It's just, even for the state of Florida, where it's kind of like the abyss of recruiting, there's anything goes. I mean, even for this state, it was like, okay, you're committing to a school that's not on your list. How do I grade that?
Sure.
So I have no idea what's going on there. And I've known him for 2.5 years.
That is established rapport. I mean, knowing the kid for that long, and that's a great anecdote there too. It's just like all of a sudden the kid's not talking anymore. But when something bizarre like that happens, that's the word I'll use to describe it. Just bizarre. I think that's fair. In your experience, is that something that goes off in your head? Like, okay, this might not be as solid of a commitment as it's led on to be, or like is a random commitment out of the blue like that actually more solid than a lot of us think? I guess that's a long way of saying like flip watch for Bredell Richardson. I mean, what we got here?
That's something you could look at, but this is a kid that's pretty grounded, very motivated, great player. He can play at any school. Like he had an offer from Alabama before his junior year. He can play.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, again, I don't have a lot of anecdotes like this one.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of the data is very limited. You can't do a research study on it. I have no idea. That's why I said I'm going to wait a few weeks because I'm as bumfuzzled as everybody else. I have no idea. My guess is that once he decided on UCF, and this is purely conjecture on my part, just to be clear, UCF wanted him to do that to get the most buzz.
Okay.
That would be my guess.
That checks out. Yeah. And look, like I'm not totally naive here. I get why it could be UCF. Like he's one of the greatest recruits of all time for that program, a program that's moving to the Big 12, 2 hours away from his home. Like it makes sense. It's not like he committed to Oregon State out of the blue or something that just makes absolutely zero sense. So I don't know. Just the only sample size I have of this, though, of a kid that has, Michigan State in his top schools and then commits to a team that's not in the top schools. Peyton Kirkland, not too long ago, he had a Final Five, and then he went to, number 6, Texas, and that commitment stuck. He did end up signing with them. But, yeah, I just don't know if that's something like more common in the industry these days of, like, kids going completely off the board of their top schools.
I know Peyton really well, too. One of the things he did was just wait too long.
Okay.
He had a bunch of those offers, and he put them on his sheet. Not all of them were available at the time he decided.
I see. Okay.
I'll leave it
Checks
at that.
out. Okay. Fair enough. Well, still landed at a pretty solid spot there over down in Texas if they ever turn things around, which, hey, I'm one of these suckers. Believe it or not, Brian, I'm one of these suckers in the college football landscape. For some reason, every other year, I think that, Texas is back this year. Even though I've been proven wrong 14 times in my life, like I come crawling back like an idiot every single time. So maybe this is the year. Probably not, but whatever.
I don't like that. Something's just not right there. I don't believe until I see it.
No, look, there are some things I really can separate, like fantasy from the truth. That's just not one of them for whatever reason. Anyway, let's keep it 2 wide receivers here because Javarius Green, 3-star receiver out of the great state of North Carolina. He is going to be committing on Friday. It's the final 3 of Alabama, Michigan State, and North Carolina. There's not a ton of predictions from Rivals 24/7 Sports on 3. I think I only saw 1 combined from any recruiting expert going to North Carolina. But do you see him staying home with the Tar Heels here, or any read on this one?
It looks like Carolina's the favorite, but this is another one of those deals. He's from a school that Carolina should win. I know the program; it's always had dudes, and they need receivers. They're still running the spread, etc. That makes sense. But Michigan State being in on a kid from the greater Charlotte area is bizarre within itself. Tell me how they got this far. So I don't like, especially after we just discussed Bredell. I know him personally and had no clue what's going to happen.
Okay. Gotcha.
I have gun shy written all over me right now. Like there's been a few of these in the last month or two that he's going to this school and everybody picks it. And then he picked like the fourth or fifth. It's like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Sure. I do not envy the recruiting insider profession, man. It seems to be getting crazier every year.
We're now getting to the point where I think it's personally fed to us false so they can make bigger splashes.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is not fun for me at all.
No, I bet. No.
It's really frustrating. So it is what it is, bro.
I saw earlier today you did another show. We, a little peek behind the curtain here. We have a little sign-up sheet where we get to lease out Brian for his time, and you did a Pac-12 based show earlier. One of their questions was impact on going to the Big Ten, like USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington. If you guys have been sleeping under a rock, they're all coming to the Big Ten. I'm going to steal that host question here. How does that impact recruiting? I mean, I guess maybe, we may have already touched on it with Jason Brown, but with those West Coast schools coming to the Big Ten, is it just that easy? Is it just a benefit for Michigan State in the world of recruiting, you think?
Well, think about it this way logistically. When a college football program, basketball, whatever, gets ready to travel, they know they've got an upcoming game, West Coast, it's 3+ hour flight.
Yeah.
They're going to have to do logistics, the hotel, et cetera. And how it really works is somebody in the summer goes out and checks it out to make sure there's no shady business going on.
Okay.
Well, there's another benefit here. Is everything's on track. If you're Michigan State and you're going to, let's say they play UCLA in 26, whatever, they play UCLA. Well, there are a couple kids in LA that can play football. There are a handful of kids. I'm sure you've heard rumors. And
I have.
You're going to go out early, number one, so your kids can adjust to the time. And you can make that the reason you leave. But the coaches, the real reason they want to go, many of them, if we're in LA, damn it, we're going to recruit some of these kids over and over. And as you build relationships, you gain more traction. It's not rocket science. I'll put it in perspective. Any school that is traditionally recruited nationally, like Notre Dame, Ohio State, et cetera, they don't just schedule out of conference games in big warm weather states by accident. There's reasons, like Notre Dame plays in California every year. Is that a coincidence?
Gotcha.
Michigan State is going to benefit from this just by osmosis. And it's the same thing I said on the Oregon show. It's the same thing.
Okay.
They're going to get some kid from Ohio that Ohio State didn't offer, and they played at Ohio State and they scouted this kid. And he's like, well, we like him. We're going to offer him. Michigan State's going to flip that around in California or Seattle, like the Brown, et cetera. You're going to have more opportunities. And it's great for Michigan State. It's an odd additional point in it's no longer the Big Ten. This is what I said earlier. It is now, I don't care what they call it. This is what I'm calling it. It is the National Conference. If you're in New York and LA, it's the National Conference.
Sure.
And you're going to be playing in every time zone. There's an opportunity to gain from that in many ways. Recruiting's one. They're going to come out on Thursdays. I guarantee you go to the high school, get transcripts, watch film. On Friday, you watch their game after your practice. Then you go play the game on Saturday. Is what it is, brother.
Hey, we'll take it. Go Networks. Wow. I might be changing my tune to this right now. Again, hey, we'll see where MSU's class stacks up in 2024 and 25. But I might be.
The money from those networks is going to make those trips very easy. Look, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I mean, this is awful to think, but like Ohio State, Michigan, and certain schools make the most money for the conference. Northwestern's getting just as much.
I know.
It's crazy because
Yeah.
they're going to have that same kind of budget if they want to go recruit in California, which I think it's pretty safe to say Northwestern's not going to be very good for the foreseeable future. But anyway.
Well, we'll see. Hey, everyone's undefeated in August, except maybe the Northwestern Wildcats. I don't know, man.
12 already.
It's tough sledding there, man. Before we let you go, again, always love having you on. I know the listeners do, the viewers do. Before we check in with you again, which will probably be during the season, I would imagine, we will give you a little bit of a break here. Before we say goodbye, Brian, though, how should us Michigan State fans be feeling about just the state of recruiting as we are in the middle of August going towards the season? should I be losing sleep or what, man? Because I flip flop every hour basically when I think about it.
2 questions for you, actually. Number one, do you have a good physician? Number
nah,
two,
he's okay. Yeah, he's okay.
Okay, we need to improve that. And number two, if they can't come out, I don't remember what state opens with or whoever they play, but in your opinion, I don't even need to know the teams. Can they go 4-0 in September? Yes or no?
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. It's not impossible. There are 4 home games. It's Central Michigan, it's Richmond, it's Washington, and then a spicy Maryland team, but all at home. So yes, they can do. I think they will. I think they go 3-1.
I got Washington in that game straight up. I don't think you want to say that because you're a state fan, but
oh no, that is the one I'll give away. Yeah, for sure. I have no problem saying that. Yep.
Washington's quarterback, he's good.
We've seen him 48 times in East Lansing, and he tunes us up every single. Even when Michigan State beat Indiana, when he was the quarterback there, he was still throwing for 800 yards. Like, yeah,
he's from.
I know it's going to happen,
so I know about him, and like,
there you go.
Yeah, I was like, okay. Yeah, a lot of people slept on him, and they are wishing they had not. But
no kidding.
Quick, I want to come on and do some Big Ten predictions with you very soon. I have a lot of takes. And some Michigan State fans will really enjoy. They happen to be about a team that's in a city that has 2 words with the A word.
Let's see. Yeah, nothing comes to mind immediately, but I'll look at a map and see if I can figure out who you're talking about here. All right, well, I'm just going to edit the whole part out when I said that we'll see you again in the middle of the season because we'll talk to you before that. It sounds like, Brian. No, this is great. Always a great chat with you. And look, he does more than recruiting, folks. He does a little bit of Big Ten predictions, but that's a cliffhanger in the industry, is what we call it. We'll do that another day. God, already looking forward to that chat. It's gonna be a great one. It's gonna be a great one.
Thank you, sir.
You're the best.